The energy on set was incredible. I didn't actually work with any stuntmen on the set.
On the morning of March 12, 2025, numerous major news outlets simultaneously reported Mike Wolfe, the prominent face of the reality television show American Pickers, had been sentenced to life imprisonment. The charges sounded like the plot of a high-stakes thriller, transnational artifact smuggling, concealed in evidence related to the death of a renowned historian, and manipulating the antique auction market worth tens of millions of dollars. To millions of viewers, Mike Wolfe had always embodied the image of a heritage enthusiast, traversing across America to rediscover objects that carried the soul of time. But the truth revealed during a 46-day trial painted a different portrait, a cold, calculating man with covert ties to clandestine antiquities trafficking rings from the Middle East and Europe. The story began on June 17, 2023, when police in Bloomington, Indiana, received a call from a neighbor reporting a strange odor emanating from the basement of Professor Harold Clemens's house, a retired historian who had taught at the University of Chicago and specialized in Civil War-era artifacts. When authorities broke in, they found Clemens deceased, lying on his back with his right hand clutching a small object, a silver pocket watch engraved with faint but readable words, RK 1887, for honor, not glory. At first glance, it seemed to be the natural death of an elderly man living alone. But that watch was something that should not have been there. Just a week later, the Savannah National Museum issued an internal memo that was soon leaked. The watch had once been part of the Battlefield Heritage Collection, which had gone missing in 2019 during an unexplained storage transfer. The incident had never been made public. The museum feared scandal, until the item unexpectedly resurfaced in the hand of a corpse. This information spread quickly across social media. But what truly caused the situation to explode came from an anonymous Reddit post. A user named GearGhost82 created a thread on the antique hoarding subreddit. I swear I saw this exact watch in an unaired episode of American Pickers when Mike visited a farm in Kentucky. It was in his palm and he even said, "This watch tells stories." Within 48 hours, dozens of people came forward claiming they had seen the same item on the show, or at least a similar clip that had circulated on YouTube in 2021 but was later removed. Other users added, "I saw it in the display cabinet at Antique Archaeology in Nashville last year, might be the same one." In July 2023, the FBI quietly opened an investigation. Working with the International Antiquities Trafficking Task Force, the operation was codenamed Rust Rail, with its primary focus, determining whether Mike Wolfe was connected to an illegal interstate and possibly international artifact trading network. One of their early leads came from an unreleased History Channel video leaked by a former employee. In the 14-minute footage, Mike Wolfe is seen negotiating the purchase of a set of military pocket watches from an unidentified man inside a warehouse near Paducah, Kentucky. By Elgin, yeah, it's an American manufacturer. Mike's voice in the video includes a line, "I know this piece went through the hands of an officer, it definitely has historical value. I won't ask where you got it." What raised further suspicion was that the connection between Harold Clemens and Mike Wolfe wasn't entirely non-existent. In 2017, Clemens made a brief appearance at a televised regional symposium on object history. In his introduction, he made a cryptic remark, "Some artifacts should never be for sale. They carry pain no amount of money can buy." An internal email from Clemens's computer recovered after his death revealed deeper suspicions. In a message to a close friend, he wrote, "I believe I've uncovered a chain of illicit transactions originating from a well-known television figure. I'm debating whether to alert the federal authorities." That email was sent 3 days before his death. Though police found no signs of assault, the forensic report indicated a small contusion on the back of Clemens's head, possibly from a fall or from impact before losing consciousness. No one was prosecuted for his death, but from that moment, the investigation changed course. Mike Wolfe was officially placed under federal-level special surveillance, and that small watch, once a blurry detail, became the spark that forced an entire antiquing empire to face justice. Rust Rail, tracking the objects that never made it on air. Immediately after the silver pocket watch appeared beside Professor Harold Clemens's body, the federal investigative team began reviewing all aired episodes of American Pickers while also issuing formal requests for internal records from the History Channel and the show's production company. The FBI quickly discovered something unusual. From 2020 to 2023, more than 40 items acquired by Mike Wolfe and the show's crew never appeared on television. Some had been filmed with basic purchase receipts, but there was no clear record of where they went afterward. Among them was the very same fateful pocket watch. The covert investigation was codenamed Rust Rail, a reference to the path of tracing items buried in warehouses, basements, or perhaps even the underworld layers of the antique market. At first, the investigative team could not directly approach Mike Wolfe. Instead, they quietly trailed one of his backstage assistants, Craig Salinas, who had worked as a driver and primary transport handler for the production team. During a surveillance session lasting nearly 6 hours in southern Missouri, Salinas was recorded driving a van labeled Antique Archaeology to an abandoned warehouse, a location not listed in any official filming schedule. Local police were asked to assist by posing as a building safety inspection crew. There, they saw a series of sealed wooden crates containing 18th to 19th century items, including at least 3 objects identified by the FBI as reported stolen from a local museum in Georgia. A major turning point came when the investigation team obtained search warrants for 2 private storage facilities registered under a company called Time Vault Logistics LLC, a shell company in which Mike Wolfe held shares through 3 layers of financial intermediaries. In the first warehouse in Ohio, they discovered more than undocumented antiques ranging from Civil War-era revolvers and torn handwritten manuscripts to a nearly 1-meter-tall Egyptian deity statue, carefully stored in a shockproof container. This statue, according to an internal report, matched one stolen from the Luxor Museum, Egypt, in 2011. Following the money trail, the FBI found that Mike Wolfe owned at least 5 small companies incorporated in tax havens such as BVI, Malta, and the Cayman Islands. From 2016 to 2023, nearly $4.7 million USD had been moved between these companies through antique transactions, but none involved certified appraisers or reputable auction houses. Notably, a Swiss bank account under Wolfe's name had received a $150,000 wire transfer from an individual linked to the underground antique market in Aleppo, Syria, once accused of being a transit point for looted cultural artifacts during wartime. What stunned investigators was how Mike organized the entire operation. No official team member was responsible for transporting goods after filming. Everything was handed off to a third party, with contracts signed through virtual fax apps and payments made in cash or cryptocurrency. The logistics coordinator was a man of Eastern European descent, his real name unknown but saved in Mike's messages under the alias Memon. From November 2023, the FBI decided to infiltrate the network by approaching an antique shop previously visited by Wolfe in New Mexico. An unofficial meeting between an undercover agent and Mike took place on the night of December 3rd. In an audio recording later leaked during trial, Mike is heard saying, "Not every item should be on TV. Some things are meant for those who truly understand their value, not the audience." Shortly after this meeting, the FBI executed emergency searches at 3 locations connected to antique archaeology, including a secret warehouse in North Nashville. There, they uncovered the List 17, a handwritten coded document listing artifacts alongside symbols, black market prices, and transaction dates. Next to the list was a personal notebook belonging to Mike, with a penciled line that read, "They will never understand. This is about heritage, not money." But heritage cannot be an excuse to break the law. And with that much evidence, from undocumented artifacts, shady accounts, to notes indicating concealment, Mike Wolfe was officially named the prime suspect in what could become the biggest scandal in the history of American reality television. A tense trial and the verdict for Mike. On January 9, 2025, the federal trial of Mike Wolfe officially commenced in Chicago. Security was tight. Reporters crowded outside the courthouse. Many people held signs reading "Free Mike," still believing this was all a misunderstanding. But what was revealed inside the courtroom left most in silence. The 39-page indictment listed 6 main charges, including illegal transportation of antiquities, international trafficking of cultural heritage, tax evasion, obstruction of justice, money laundering, and indirectly concealing evidence in a suspicious death. The proposed sentence: life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The prosecutor opened with a series of images and clips from never-before-aired videos in which Mike Wolfe appeared negotiating shady deals at locations not officially documented in the show. One of them showed Mike handing cash to a Syrian man in a Detroit garage in exchange for a small box containing unverified Roman coins. The prosecutor described it not as collecting, but as a commercial model built on illegality, disguised through the lens of television. A major blow to Mike's defense came from the testimony of Frank Fritz, Mike's former companion during many of the show's early seasons. After stepping away from the show, Frank agreed to be a witness, and his words silenced the courtroom. He said, "We had once promised to only collect what was legal. But as time went on, everything changed." Mike became obsessed with things no one else had. He said, "To keep the show alive, we have to dig deeper, both literally and figuratively." Frank carefully recalled an incident in 2021 when they acquired a wartime diary in Arkansas. Mike later took it away, and no one knew where it went. But weeks later, Frank saw a copy of that very same diary on the black market, priced at 15 times more. The defense team offered little direct rebuttal to the physical evidence. Instead, they focused on portraying Mike as someone caught in a system he could not control, claiming all transactions were handled by the logistics team and that Mike was a lover of antiques, not a mastermind. They argued the suspicious funds were legitimate income from private foreign collections, and the Swiss account was a lawful savings account. Mike Wolfe remained silent for nearly the entire duration of the trial. His gaze was somber, devoid of emotion. On day 31 of the trial, when asked if he wished to speak to the jury, Mike stood, looked straight at them, and said, "I never saw myself as a criminal. I just wanted to save what others had thrown away. If that makes me guilty, I accept it." That shocking statement was quoted across headlines, dividing public opinion between admiration and condemnation. On sentencing day, the judge took just over 4 minutes to read the verdict based on the volume of evidence and the level of organization,